Debí tirar más fotos de cuando te tuve, debí darte más.
So I've coached over 500 sales reps at this point, and many of them have come from a corporate sales background with years and years of experience in multiple different industries and niches. And respectfully, they've done very well for themselves before working with me and my team. But I've seen a repeating pattern in many of them that has handicapped their own success and their own ability to sell. And similarly, I've worked with a lot of people that have had no sales experience before. And their perception of sales coming into the industry is wildly different to what the reality of a good person should do when selling. And it all comes down to feelings. People buy feelings, they don't buy things. So you shouldn't product push. And a lot of sales reps, their demise is they do product push instead of focusing on the solution and the feeling that that solution will give their prospects. And in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly why you should stop product pushing and you should start focus on selling feelings instead of things. And you might have seen from my background here that I'm on Safari, which I bought for a feeling, and I'm gonna use this as an example that you can apply in all of your sales calls.
Go tell all your friends I love them too.
So I hate to break it to you, your prospects do not care about you, they do not care about the product, and they do not care about the service. And it's the biggest mistake I see many sales reps make on their sales call. And it's painful to watch sales reps go into pitching the product and service, diving straight into the deliverables, all the intricate details, and really trying to impress the prospect with the scope of the deliverables. And it gets even worse when they try an objection handle. They focus on the importance and how great the company is, or this one intricate little detail of the product that frankly, the prospect doesn't even care about, or the prospect doesn't even need. And because you think all of this is so important, you assume surely they must think it's just as important, right? But unfortunately not. People do not buy things, they buy feelings. And by focusing so much on your thing, you're not doing a good job of selling at all. And I'm in this beautiful game lodge here in South Africa right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's 500 other plus game lodges that are exactly like this. But frankly, I wouldn't know because I didn't look, because I didn't buy a thing. If I was to buy a thing, I might have looked at all of them. I might have gone through the whole list of every single luxury lodge in the whole of South Africa and picked one, but that would be crazy. No one ever does that because no one ever buys things, they buy feelings. I found this lodge and I felt that this lodge could give me the feeling that I was looking for, and I booked it. And as I said, I'll use this game lodge as the example. You know, we booked this game lodge in South Africa, and frankly, I could have booked probably 500 plus other ones in the area, but I didn't look, so I don't even know if there's 500 other ones because I didn't buy a thing. If I was to buy a thing, I would have looked at every single one of them, but no one ever does that. You've never done that. I've never done that because people buy feelings, and I booked this game lodge because I felt like this game lodge could give me the feeling that I was looking for, so I booked it. If a lead doesn't care about your product and service, well, what do they care about? Well, frankly, they only care about themselves, what you specifically can do for them, and how you can make them feel. And watches are a really clear example of this. You know, you can buy a watch for a couple of pounds, it's gonna tell you the time, or you can buy a watch for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds, and it's still gonna tell you the time, but the reason that someone buys a watch for £1 or £2 or £1 million are very, very different. And on this trip, I've only bought my Garmin, but I've got other watches too. I've got Rolexes, I've got an AP, I've got a Cartier. Now, the reason I bought those watches is very different to the reason I bought this Garmin. Now, this Garmin I brought more so for practical reasons, more so for the feeling of knowing my numbers when I'm working out, knowing the pace I'm doing, and having that feeling of like, I know where I'm at with my training every single day. And I know that I don't have to think about my training because it's logged into my watch. And that makes me feel good because it's something that I don't have to stress about or think about. But the reason I bought the watches, the Rolexes, the APs, is very different. I probably bought those watches for status and the feeling of feeling important or the feeling of significance. I didn't just buy them because they were telling me the time. I bought them because I wanted them to make me feel a certain way. You know, Rolex, their whole thing with marketing is kind of that status piece. Everybody knows that if you wear a Rolex, you're relatively successful. And I probably wanted to feel that success. And I probably wanted to buy those watches for that reason. And to be honest, not many people will say that, but the only reason you see somebody wearing a nice watch is probably because they want to feel some level of significance. They want to feel some level of importance, or they really care about horology and watches themselves. And the feeling of wearing such a intricate bit of detail on their wrist makes them feel good. But the reasons are very, very different from the £1, £2 watch, from the Garmin to the Rolex or the £1 million watch. And this simple principle applies to absolutely everything you're selling. You know, a marketing agency selling Facebook ads, the person buying those Facebook ads doesn't actually care about buying Facebook ads or having someone do their ads for them. They care about growing their business. Or the person that buys into a fitness offer to lose weight, they don't care about the workouts and the details, they care about losing the weight. Or even if I use Club Closer, my own coaching company, as an example here, people don't necessarily care about the sales training, the daily coaching calls, or the community of 500 other sales reps that they can network with and share job opportunities with. They buy because they want the end result. They want to make that 10K a month. They want what that 10K a month can actually do for them and how it can ultimately make them feel. And I'll again use the example of the Safari here. Now, I've been to this exact game lodge before. This hat is from the year before I came. Now, the reason I came in for the first time was Safari, once in a lifetime opportunity. Maybe never come again. But now I'm back in South Africa the following year with a new set of friends, and they've never been to Safari. And I thought about not going. I thought, I've done this before, maybe I don't want to come. But the feeling I wanted to get this time, very different to that first time experience, the first time seeing a lion. The feeling I'm getting of watching my friends see a lion for the first time or see a herd of elephants for the first time, that's what I'm here for. And I'm here because I frankly didn't want to miss out on those experiences. I didn't want them coming back to the villa we're living in Cape Town and talking about all these stories and me not being able to be involved in it. So maybe the feeling I was looking for was, the fear of missing out, wanting to be involved and wanting to experience those feelings that my friends were having with them. Very different to the first time I came here, which was all for my own feelings. Now, the next thing to really consider is what feelings do people want to buy? And it might surprise you, but most of the time it always comes back to pain. Now, there's two main reasons people buy things. One is to move away from pain, and the other is to move towards desire and pleasure, which can technically be considered as pain avoidance. So it always comes back to pain. And, someone's pain can manifest itself in many different ways. Using the marketing agency example again, somebody might want to work with you as a marketing agency to run paid ads to grow their business. But ultimately, why do they want to grow the business? Is it they don't feel successful enough yet because the business isn't a certain size? Are they worried that the business could vanish overnight and, they have no savings to keep themselves afloat? Or is it that they feel that the business could be doing so much more and they currently feel like they're underachieving and they just don't want to live with that feeling of regret of not knowing what would be possible if they had pushed the business a bit harder? Now, I could go on and on and on about all these different examples, but you get the point, and I won't bore you with that. The last thing I'll leave you on is the same thing with me being here on this Safari. Now, the reasons I bought it were very different from the reasons when I first bought it last year, but it still comes back to pain. I had the fear of missing out and not having that experience, the fear of, all my friends coming back from Safari into the house and being like, oh man, we had such a good trip. Do you remember that monkey? Do you remember that tiger? Not tiger, there's no tigers on Safari. Do you remember that lion? Do you remember that elephant? And me not being able to experience that. And sure, it's not as deep-rooted pain as everyone thinks, but it's that fear of missing out and, not being involved in those conversations that, were the reason I bought it. And I've technically bought the same thing twice now, but I've bought the same thing for very different reasons. One was a first-time experience of never seeing an elephant in, real life before and going on safari the first time. The other one was to experience it through my friends and not wanting to miss out. I bought very different feelings, but ultimately they were rooted in the same thing. Now, the next question you should be asking yourself, if you're selling the same thing again and again, but you shouldn't be selling the thing, you should be selling the feeling, whether that be a Safari, a marketing agency, hell, even my program, Club Closer. Well, how do you know what feeling specifically to sell? Well, as you've just learned, we're selling that feeling of moving away from pain and moving towards pleasure. But that isn't enough. We must fully understand what that person's pain is, where they're currently at, what they're struggling with, why is it causing them issues, what have they tried before to fix it, why hasn't it worked, what do they want to feel when they have it fixed. That is what we want to sell. But we must fully take the time to understand where someone currently is right now and what they're currently feeling before we even try and sell them any future feeling or feeling they want to experience. Because if we don't understand the feeling they're feeling now, how can you sell what feeling they want to be feeling? Which is why the discovery part of the sales call is so important. You need to understand that person's current situation, where they're currently at, what they're currently experiencing before you try to sell them any future state or any future feeling. Skipping this is like somebody telling you that they want to go to Soho in London, but you have no idea exactly where they're starting from.
the feeling you're going to sell them or the solution you're going to sell them is going to be very different depending on where their starting point is. They could be starting in Tokyo, or they could be starting in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, or they could be starting in Mayfair just around the corner. You know, what you're going to be selling and how you're going to be framing it and the feeling of getting there is going to be different for each situation. And if you don't know what someone is feeling right now, how can you best guide them in getting to the feeling that they want to feel? So this next bit should start to become obvious to you, but once you know where someone is at, you can then start to understand as to where they want to get to. And by using the same marketing agency example, it could be that they're at 100K a month and they want to get to 200K a month. But this, quite frankly, isn't enough. You know you sell paid ads and you know you can help them get there. You can help, double their revenue by running paid ads for them, but it isn't enough. You must not only understand where they want to get to, but you really must understand as to why they want to get there. And this is really where the feelings come in. Doubling the size of someone's business can mean so many different things to so many different people. Everyone has their own reasons as to why they want to do it, and that is where the feeling is attached. It could be that the business owner needs to double the size of the business to make it profitable so they can send their kids to college, which has been important to them because they never got to go to college themselves in the first place. Or it could be that they're currently working themselves to the ground, or it could be that they're currently working themselves to the ground with no free time to enjoy life outside of work, and they really want to travel, they really want to explore the world, and by doubling the business they're able to hire C-suite positions or people that can fill that role that otherwise they have to do themselves. Or another thing to consider is you might not even be selling your marketing services to the director or the owner of the business. You could be selling it to the marketing director. And it's important for them that the business doubles in size because they'll look so great to their boss that they'll get this big bonus and they'll be able to pay off their mortgage. Or you might not even be selling your marketing services to the owner of the business. You might be selling it to the marketing director. And it's so important that the business doubles in size to the marketing director because they're going to look so great. And by having that business double, they're going to get a huge bonus, which is going to allow them to pay off the mortgage, which they've been paying off for years. And it's going to relieve a huge amount of financial stress from them. And of course, each of these individual circumstances will provide, a different feeling for every single example. And, the list could go on here. What I'm trying to get to is that we really want to understand what they ultimately want and why, because that's ultimately what we're going to sell. And if you really think about it, the same applies for absolutely everything we buy as individuals. For some, going on safari is a once in a lifetime opportunity that people save for years and years for. And they often only get the opportunity to go once they, retire. And I'm in the very fortunate position, and I'm very grateful that I've been able to go on safari twice in my 20s. Now, my reasons for going the second time are different from the first time. And my reasons for going may be wildly different to that retired couple that has, saved their whole life in order to do so. And again, I'm doing it for a different feeling to them. So it's critical that you understand the feeling first, that prospect and the person you're selling to really wants to feel when they achieve that desired outcome before you attempt to sell anything. And where they want to get to, which is the feeling they want and that desired feeling, then you can sell them that feeling, not the product or service. And this all comes down to the pitch. Whether you've worked on sales or not, this is a critical part as to whether you will land the sale or not. And I've watched countless sales calls. I've been pitched to thousands of times, and the only time I've ever bought was when I bought into a feeling. And like anyone, I only bought when they sold me that feeling. Many salespeople might already be great at finding out the current situation, finding out the desired situation, but when it comes to pitch, they regurgitate the same rehearsed script time and time again. And your chances of closing the sale plummet because you go from selling the feeling, taking the prospect away from the current situation, the current feeling, to the desired situation, the desired feeling and the feeling they want, straight back into the thing because you're just product pushing, talking about the features, talking about the benefits, and not focusing on selling the feeling. You're too much selling the thing. And many sales reps might already be great at finding out the current situation, finding out the desired situation, and really focusing on finding out that feeling and the feeling that they want to be feeling. But when they come to pitching, they crumble. They just regurgitate the same script, the same rehearsed script time and time again, which really locks them back into selling the thing as opposed to selling that feeling. So in your pitch, it is critical that every single one is individually tailored to each individual prospect. Lean into their desires, take them away from that current situation, those current feelings, and provide them a solution that gets them into the desired, gets them to where they want to go and have those feelings that they ultimately want to feel. And tell them how you're going to do this. Not by selling them the product or the thing, but by selling them the solution and showing them how the solution is going to help them get to that desired feeling. And by applying this simple trick and by focusing on selling feelings as opposed to things in all of your sales calls, you'll not only increase your close rate and close more sales, but you'll increase your commission. So if you like this sales training, drop me a subscribe here on YouTube, and I'll see you on the next one.